What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson, and joining me all the way from Brooklyn, New York, is Jordan Olds. You might know him from his given name, Gwarsenio Hall. He's a musician and comedian, writer, performer, so on and so forth, and is the host of a show called 2 Minutes to Late Night, which you can find on YouTube, and they have a Patreon and all kinds of other stuff. And yeah, so Jordan, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Yeah, thank you for having me, dude. Yeah, I have a show. It's called 2 Minutes to Late Night. It's like I've described it to people as like it's like Conan O'Brien, but at like Woodstock '99.
That's a great way to describe it. It was it immediately kind of like hit me just as a fan of metal in general, and like just all the little inside jokes. It just felt like it was kind of like very, very like meta, but like it was kind of like, for me, it was like when I saw Wet Hot American Summer for the first time, I was like, oh, this is literally like they made this for me. It just kind of hit all the right notes as far as like sensibilities and like sense of humor and that kind of thing.
Oh, dude, thank you. Yeah, I mean, thank you for comparing us to that movie. I love that movie.
Well, but Jane Garofalo is your mom, so I mean,
yeah. I have I will never tell her this, but I have a Wet Hot American Summer tattoo. So
ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
maybe not, but I have it.
It's not cool.
It's on my foot kind of, so that's like where you put like goofy tattoos are for the legs.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I mean, I've got the address of a punk venue that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that's cool though. It means arms are for like, you spent too much money, get on your sleeve, or something that kind of means something. That's for, it's classic mom tattoo. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess for people who are not initiated, I don't want this to be like a 45-minute, fangirl session. So can you kind of explain your, I don't want to say origin story, but like, how did you get into music in the first place? What kind of like compelled you to start playing music, and how did you end up where you are right now, I guess?
I think what made me I think I always kind of wanted to play music. I just didn't really know if it was like in the car. When I was like really young and like in middle school, like early middle school, I was like, this seems like it would be kind of too expensive to get into. And then I eventually, I don't know, I think I got really into the Foo Fighters and Korn when I was like in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that kind of sparked my, like, I think the emotional angsty music of a Korn inspired me to really want to play music. And then also, of course, like I loved Van Halen as like a kid. Like that was I thought they were the coolest band, but I think it didn't seem like attainable to me until I until there was like something like honestly, I think it really was Korn, because I was like, these are no one's shredding, I could do this. And then like I was like, I could maybe I could figure it out, and now I love shredding. But I think that was I think that like the like bands like that were singing to younger, like to like an angry middle school like bullied boy, and I was like, oh dude, I fill out that whole criteria, and I think that pushed me to like get my ask my parents to help me get like a guitar, and then they said no, and then I mowed lawns to buy like $100 guitars.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that first record was like the Frog Stomp album, that Silverchair record. I was like, oh, this is literally a CD I can play all the way through.
Yeah.
Also, I guess dating myself slightly because I was like, I don't know, eighth, ninth grade when that record came out.
Mm.
But I feel like everybody's got like that one record that was like, oh, I can do this. And
I Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that you know, when I was getting into like Van Halen and I was like, this is amazing. I just didn't think that uh like that was something that would be for me at that age, because I know that like we had a piano in the house, and I feel like if I was like, I want to play guitar like this, and my mom would go, you've never played the piano, you're not like, you're not putting effort into music, you can't do this.
yeah,
And to a certain extent, I think she's right, because I've only ever, like with music with me, I've only ever learned as much of it as I needed
yeah,
to
totally.
solve my next problem. Like I'm like, I learned to like, do more complicated stuff on the guitar because I'm like, well,
Yeah,
I
like
gotta like learn this part.
coming up. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally get that. Um, so beyond just being a musician, because like it doesn't, based on what we've talked about up to this point, it doesn't quite make sense of like, well, why are we talking to you specifically? But like, if you haven't been keeping up with what Jordan is doing and what 2 Minutes to Late Night is doing, they've been super, it's always kind of been a component of their show to end with like this really kind of cool take on a cover song. And
Mm.
like, for you guys, when in the process of putting that show together was it kind of decided like, oh, this is going to be a part of what we do? Like, how did that kind of come together?
I think it was the reason there isn't a first, like it was always, we always wanted it to be a part of it, because we were like, what can we do that would be different than every other show? Like what's something that we can do, because we always wanted it to be a music show and not necessary. We wanted it to be metal themed, but we wanted it to be about so many genres of music. And that's why in the first episode there are two guests. Like one is Ben Wyman, and then the second guest is Laura Stevenson, who is just like an indie musician,
Mhm.
like does kind of like folk punky stuff, but mostly just acoustic songs that make me cry while washing dishes. But I think we didn't do an actual cover song we just did a Mutoid Man song
Yeah,
because we didn't know where the show was gonna go, and we wanted someone to be able to like air it.
yeah,
So we were like, the concept is trying to like to bring artists in to perform, to have fun in metal.
yeah,
And we were like, the easiest way we can do that is to have uh different artists, either like we can perform their song or we can perform something that's like that would make like a song that would make sense to them
yeah,
from being from a different genre of music. And it would just, we can kind of, the goal was to kind of show that like the heavy metal genre is kind of for everybody. It's not uh it's it's about fun. Like
yeah.
that's my favorite part of metal, is that it's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So that was kind of where covers came from. We didn't do it in the first episode just because we were like, we don't know if we can afford song rights. And then just like, and then after after like no one was gonna buy the show anyway, after shopping it around to a lot of places, we were like, fuck it, let's do another episode and go nuts.
Yeah,
And like that's when the Prince cover happened, because we've always the Prince cover happened because Mutoid Man, at the end of one of their shows, the day that Prince died, they just played really heavily the end of Purple Rain. And then we talked when we were going to do another episode. It was like, we should just do the whole song. I have like, it'll be really fun to like build it
yeah,
and add layers. I think we could make it really epic and fun.
yeah. When it goes to double time in the second verse, that's like that's where it just opens up for me. And then that second chorus where like you get like the full harmonies, and like it was massive. That's kind of, I think, when I really kind of latched on. I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting, at least for you guys, because it's a funny show. It's a comedy sketch show about metal, but it showed, I think, like through doing the covers, it kind of shows like we're still going to be serious about certain things, and even when it's kind of goofy, it's still executed well. I think a lot of times people can just kind of like take the piss and like cover a song kind of poorly, just for the
Mhm.
sake of being ironic or funny or whatever. But like you guys really went to the effort of like making sure it was good and unique and creative in a way that I just thought was really cool. It doesn't hurt
Thanks.
to have Mutoid Man as your house band. Um, so and then the guests that you guys have had over the course of the this entire run has been pretty crazy. I think you've got all of Baroness now. Have you covered?
Yeah, we've got we have all of Baroness has been on the show. We love those guys, all of them. They're all so talented, and they're just. I think the band is so diverse in what they want to do that we can really show like the scope of different songs
Yeah.
that we can do. I think we picked like 3 very different bands for everybody to be a part of, and since we were gonna we went for that Boston song, I think, because I was like, all right, it's 2 of them this time. And for those who don't know, we covered Foreplay Long Time by Boston with Sebastian and Nick from Baroness. That's the drummer and the bassist. And I was like, there's 2 of them, and we want to pick a song that kind of shows them off. But and then I was like, why don't we do a song that's technically 2 songs? That'll be fun and a pain in the ass to arrange. Jesus Christ, that was crazy. But it was. I'm really happy with how that turned out.
It was really really impressive. I've only ever seen one other band do it live, and yeah, that's hard mode. There's no kind of going about it. Um,
Yeah.
but you guys, it was cool because it was done really well, but it was like fun. Having the Smells Like Teen Spirit solo kind of towards the end. Just why the hell not? I mean,
Yeah, he just did that, and that's all Steve. He was just the day of was just started playing that and was like, should I just do that? I'm like, yeah, dude, of course.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because everything else was literally like spot on, like note for note, like you guys really went for it. And it was just kind of like a fun, like, all right, well, even though we could do this exactly the way it is, we're just going to do this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I really appreciate the way that you guys kind of arrange things. Like, how do you guys approach a song like when something like that comes up, like when you're going into it, like how do you like what is the thumbprint of the sound that you guys are going for? Do you think?
Well, most of the covers, I think only like 2 or 3 of them are not composed and arranged by me. It's usually just me like putting it together, because I gotta like it makes sense for me to kind of start it off for the show, because like I'm in the writer's room, and then I can play instruments, so I will like build it and then like kind of try to tie it into the show. And since I kind of understand like the way Mutoid Man works, or kind of how their sound works, like I think what makes our the start of each cover is it's just that we're using concert tuning, which is just it's half step down, and then the top string is dropped all the way to like A sharp.
Yeah.
And I think that tuning kind of adds like a level. I'm like, all right, well, we have to transform the song to be able to play it like this, and the goal is to like try to use the chonky octave that's created in the top 2 strings as like, let's try to put the riff in there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that should be like the main source of like the melody, or like, can we add harmonies? It's just trying to I kind of always just like taking big ass tunings that are chunky, and I like trying to play them fast
Yeah.
because I think it's counterintuitive, but it makes it like a little bit of a challenge, and that's how I think a lot of, and then you throw in like riffs that like might sound good in like a gallop or like as a breakdown or like as hits, like bringing in some converged style of business. I think it's like fun to try to transform a song um, and keep the spirit of it. It takes forever to build most of the covers,
Yeah.
and then but it's then I once I arrange it and send it off, then kind of everyone takes it and makes it like their own thing, and it becomes really fun.
Yeah, I think talking about the tuning, like making the most, I think a really great example of that for you guys was doing Hot for Teacher with Gina Gleason, like using that
Mm-hmm.
using that the lower tuning kind of during that intro riff. I think was that's really where it stood out for me because like you basically changed the progression there at least on the intro,
Right.
but like made it kind of it was loyal to like the song itself, but like was unique enough where it stood out that it was like, okay, this is something that's kind of like they're taking their own spin on it. But I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, the riff is different than the original a little bit, but it kind of feels the same also. Like it's got the that's I think like that one's such an anomaly because it's like, you know, the song has such an iconic
Yeah,
main riff.
yeah, it's a hot mess of a song like musically, you know.
Right.
Was that 13 hits during like the solo break or something like
Fuck.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked. I I think we might have like simplified it since we weren't able to. I think we planned on simplifying it and then didn't, or something. I don't know. I remember I rehearsed it with Mutoid Man doing doing like the lead guitar, and Steve trying to get ready to just sing for the first time on the show.
Yeah.
And I think we were going to simplify it, but when Gina showed up and like knew, it's one of those things where when we're doing the show live, we kind of have no idea how it's going to sound or how it's going to work until we're actually all on the stage together, and then it's just like, we hope this is going to sound good. I don't know.
Yeah. It's been really, honestly, it's one of the things that I've been looking forward. I look forward to every time y'all post something because I know it's going to be different. But it's going to be fun and like unique in its own kind of way. And one of the things that I think has been really impressive, because you're not really shooting the show anymore, like where you were like basically putting out regular episodes. Now you have like special events, like if you go to like you do like the fest episodes or
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. But now it's just, all right, you're either doing older footage of covers that you've already done or doing these quarantine covers. And we keep kind of like hitting on the variety and the type of stuff that you're doing, but like you guys have covered everybody from like Kesha to Steely Dan. Like
Mm-hmm.
the breadth is pretty wide. So I is that the Ice Cream Man? Is that you or is that me?
It might be me. There's Ice Cream Men just out.
Just
I think that 100% means that they're just selling drugs,
yeah,
but
there.
whatever. They haven't canceled Rent, so make your money.
Like, hey, do what you got to do. It's tough in these streets. I mean, that's not true. I live.
No one's in the street, but
That's
it is tough. It's
and I
a
live
tough
in the
street.
suburbs, so I can't really talk. I moved out.
Right.
I lived in the cool part of Atlanta, and then I moved out to the burbs because that's what happens eventually.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from. I was born in Rochester, but I spent like most of my childhood in Colorado.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Very.
I just from 4 till the end of high school, I was in Colorado, and then I was like, I'm going back to New York because I miss birds shitting on me and screaming.
Well, and now you've probably got it in spades now. I mean,
Oh yeah,
an Ice Cream Man, obviously.
yeah. I love getting shit on by the Ice Cream Man.
So, you know, with the quarantine covers and that kind of stuff coming up, like what else, what do you guys have on the agenda? Like what's coming up? Can you divulge, will you divulge on, like, what you have in the
Well,
pipeline?
I think uh the weird thing about the quarantine covers is that was a plan that we were just gonna do before the lockdown.
Yeah,
Like that's why there are certain videos that have Steve in my apartment,
sure.
because we shot two of them when we were allowed to like be around each other, and that's also why like that footage looks a little better than the other covers, because we were shooting with like one of our main like camera guys, so we could have like a little bit of quality control. And I think that that maybe has, I think because we planned to do it before the necessity of doing it has, I think that that's why it feels a little different than like other quarantine covers, because we were already trying to figure out how to kind of still have the vibe of our live cover songs in it, because that's always the hardest part of our show,
Yeah,
is getting guests that have the same like available. It's so hard to get someone who's like, hey, are you gonna be in New York and available, not playing a concert for some reason, and like also, and just like everyone's available, and like Vitus has to have like, it's got to be on one of the days that like Vitus doesn't have like an insane concert. Like we have to book it out really hard. It's fucking hard. So we were trying to figure out if we could do the covers like this
yeah,
while we continue to try to figure out sort of what the future of the show is going to be, because the Patreon was at the time was only to fund this first season of the show, to just have an example of like, this is what it'll be like.
yeah,
um the plan was never to continue the show like that, because we care about quality. We
yeah,
want it to, like, that has to be like the way the show is. Like the first season is just like, that's got to be the bottom.
yeah,
It can't be worse than that. So don't want to make, we never want to make anything that's worse than that ever. We try, I think, like, this the live events we do at festivals are really chaotic, but we feel that those are a different thing. But we don't want to present like an episode of the show that is less. So we're just trying to figure out other things that we can do. And right now it's about like covers, and that's and making them fun, because that's, we can still do that. We can still
yeah,
have a ton of different musicians that you wouldn't expect. Like not all of them are from the metal world,
right.
which is kind of fun. Yeah.
Very cool. So, I mean, outside of that, like, you have your original stuff. You've got, the project that you've been working on, but you had the Be Yourself thing, which I don't think is happening anymore. So you were doing like a pop punk emo
Oh.
karaoke band for a while, and then
Yes.
you've got your female fronted Van Halen tribute Panamama, which I believe you guys have something coming up. Is that this week you're doing?
No, it's next Friday. We're doing like a 4-song like Van Halen set for the Metal Injection Slay at Home Festival, which
Yeah,
is for Music Cares, to try to raise some money.
very cool.
We talked about, doing like maybe more of a 2 minutes kind of cover thing, but we didn't. We wanted it to feel a little different, since it's, this thing's like a festival, and we didn't want to give them the traditional thing. So it's weirdly for us, what that is since, they're doing a lot of cover stuff on it, as I was like, Shauna and I have done this weird Van Halen cover set like a couple of times, which weirdly, the first time we played a Van Halen song together was at a Be Yourself event at Fest in
Okay.
Florida. So like Be Yourself was Be Yourself was a just I've been doing covers forever. Um,
We all have.
uh,
It's kind of
I made friends doing just some Halloween like Misfits cover sets. So like most of my first like cover show ever was just being the Danzig in a really scummy like Misfits cover band that would just play around a little bit. And then I took like that group of folks and for like an ex's birthday party, I like planned like a emo karaoke night secretly in like the basement of an old New York venue called the Cake Shop.
mhm.
And we just learned like Alkaline Trio and My Chemical Romance and stuff because that's what like she was into in high school. So it all kind of tied together, and the show was bananas. There were so many. The cake shop asked to like ticket it as like an actual event, and we were like, okay, but her birthday party crew doesn't have to pay anything.
Right.
But so many people showed up. They destroyed the bar like with money, and they asked us to keep doing it. So we were like, we already know a bunch of these songs, and we kept learning a few more every time until I think it like by the end, we technically had learned like 200 of these pop punk songs.
Nice.
Um, I never could really remember them all, but technically we did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been working on getting something like that spun up, but oddly enough, kind of petered out because there's nothing to do. We're trying to get.
I mean, you can't. I think for us, it just it I don't know. I think we had been doing it for like 5 years, and I feel like that's a little long to be like it's like a pop punk wedding band that isn't playing weddings. We'll play a wedding if someone's getting married and they want us to play it, we'll do that. But I think like I don't really want to like book. We got sick of like booking our own shows.
Yeah.
And we wanted to like kind of focus on like other stuff. I just, I wanted it's fun to do it because it's really easy, and it's just, the crowds are super fun. That's kind of what kept me doing it. Like, because
Oh,
pop punk is not it's not my favorite. I like some of it, but it's not, and besides my quarantine hair, it's not my bag really. But I think that's why like I was so excited when Shauna she was like, look, I know it's not a pop punk song, but can we do Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen? I was like, yes. And then we had a really good time. And then we just talked about like, we should do like a Van Halen cover set next year at Fest. And then like a few months later, like Vitus had mentioned they wanted to put like they wanted to do Van Halentine's Day,
nice.
the day after Valentine's Day, and I was like, I saw my opportunity. So like that band is mostly as straightforward as possible. Like we're not morphing a lot of the songs. There's
Right.
one song that we morph the fuck out of, but most of it is like is trying to sound as much like Van Halen as we can.
Sure.
So
So it's a
yeah.
tribute in that sense.
Yeah, that's a tribute band. We're not really doing like I'm not trying to like change those songs as much. I just want to, that's just because we love Van Halen, and also it's very funny, that Shauna is singing those songs because they're all about like fucking a car.
Yeah. Which, I don't think the war on women is necessarily, that's not their main subject matter for their content.
No, but as far as they know, it's the car has given consent.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah,
Absolutely.
we're gonna sing about it.
And for those of you listening, Vitus, he's referring to as St. Vitus, which is a venue up in Brooklyn. Just wanted to.
Oh yes.
Yeah. This is
Saint Vitus is I think it's slowly becoming. I mean, their Kickstarter to like stay around through whatever's gonna fucking happen after this is through the roof. They blasted past their goal. They have like $100,000 in
nice.
there. I think because people see it as potentially like a new like a new version of like CBGBs.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think and you guys just through the show have kind of pulled focus to them as kind of, I mean, it's a mecca for metal and heavy music in New York. I mean, if it wasn't for your show, I wouldn't know where St. Vitus is. I mean, it's.
Oh, cool.
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
And because of that, like I've seen a bunch of like live sets that they had shot there, just kind of related because of the stuff that you guys have been putting out. So, I feel like what you guys are doing is important because, it's funny and it's good, but you're also kind of like opening people up to different bands and different musicians. And, the interviews you've done with musicians have always been kind of fun. Like the Gina Gleason one where she's talking about, playing with Santana and playing, with Soleil and having a guitar that shoots fireballs and, wearing a gold, whatever that thing was. And, it's been cool because, for some people you guys are kind of like a gateway drug, like, other kind of genres of music can be. But like, yeah, I mean, I totally got sucked in on the first one, and basically anything you post, I'm definitely, into, and we'll share and, hope that other people kind of catch on as well. So, and, I was really hoping my co-host could be here so it wasn't like a full on like fangirl session. But,
there are fanboys, as
yes.
we found out from this interview. But no, thank you, man. That's the goal of the show, is to get people to like different music or learn about more music. I mean, it's hard. Like we got to do better at like at keeping up like the chef kisses and stuff. Like when we listen to new albums that we think are really cool, we're trying to keep it weekly, but we kind of want them to be real.
Yeah.
So it's not, we're only putting it out if we think that it needs the exposure and the focus, and we really kind of believe in it. But I love that, there are people who are into like introducing people to like different types of music. I love that, there are a bunch of metal dudes now who know who the rapper Miss Eves is.
Yeah.
Because of the show. I think that that's awesome. I love that, a lot of people have commented, especially on like Reelin' in the Years by Steely Dan. They're like, I thought this song sucked. And then I'm like, and then they realize that the harmony riff kicks ass when there's when there's distortion on it. But I think, it's helping people like a lot of different songs, and that's always been like the goal, is because I like a lot of weird different music, and I think also through the show I'm learning to like different music too. Like I was I wasn't like the biggest Led Zeppelin guy at the like, because I just associated the shirt with like Target.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be into like, and I liked so much classic rock. I was like, I can't like all of it, and I don't want to like the Target versions of stuff. But like through like playing like communication breakdown on the show, and then like kind of re-listen to it. Like I'm learning to love it. I'm also learning to, even bands that I like thought I hated for a long time, like I have more of an appreciation for Tool now
Yeah.
through the I don't like Tool songs really. So they're not for me, and that's
Yeah.
fine, but like now I'm like, Danny Carey's a sick fucking drummer, and I really like Adam's guitar tone on like the new album because I had to listen to it. I think it's kind of it's I think that that's what I love about the show, is that we're all I get to learn more and not be such a, I think that might, I think through the show that's kind of why we stopped doing like the podcast. I don't know if there was anybody who was like listening to our podcast, but
Yeah.
after a while, after a while, I think it got pretty exhausting to like make it, it got draining to like shit on music, or like try, the goal of the show is never to really like shit on it. It was to like try to figure out like how it happened, or like what's like the narrative behind it. But like, I think making the show and like getting into all, like the mindset of the show is to kind of love all types of music. So I think that it changed my mind, at
Yeah.
least.
What he's talking about is 5 Minutes to Cast Night, which was the companion to the TV show. And the initial concept, I think, was to pick like an infamous or, lauded or hated um, album and review it with the other writers of the show. And so
Yeah.
you guys covered, Misfit Records and, Chinese Democracy and whatever that Megadeth record was. Anything that you guys do related to Megadeth, I'm going to listen to, is because, all you guys doing the Dave Mustaine impression was just like, there you go. What do you mean?
It's super funny, dude. But I also like every vocalist that I love has a very specific, unique voice, and
Mhm.
it's like in some way like but it's also cool at the same time. Like I that like that Dave Mustaine sounds like a Muppet
Yeah.
at times. I think that adds such a charm to it, and it makes it really unique. Like Van Halen's one of they are the favorite band.
Yeah.
I don't have a tattoo of another band, so they're the favorite band. But like I love that like David Lee Roth is like has like this crazy octave range, but also just is screaming at you like a senile old man sometimes and not making any sense. And I'm like, I fucking love this.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that sounds like this.
Yeah. Or, listen to that episode he did with Joe Rogan, where like, I think Joe Rogan was on the show. I don't really recall. It was just literally David Lee Roth talking for 3 straight hours.
I loved it. It's the only episode of the Joe Rogan podcast I've ever listened to, because Joe Rogan I was assured going into it that he wasn't on it. It was just David Lee Roth for an episode.
I mean, he maybe got like a yeah in every 45 minutes, but that was basically it.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, correct. Shut up, Joe. I want to hear more about this story of them like getting bagels and illegally rowboating on the fucking Hudson River. Yeah. That's so crazy. I loved it.
With his EMT buddies or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it ruled.
It's like the normalest story he told, I think, was yeah, it was crazy.
The rest of it is just like life concepts. It's about like it's him like it's all like weirdly philosophical, and then he's also like and it's just, I don't know, it's like Doctor Strange. It's just spanning universes and whatever.
Yeah, he's on a completely different plane of existence than the rest of us. I
love it.
We can all agree with that there.
Bless him.
Well, man, I know you had a deadline. Didn't want to keep you any longer, but wanted to give you an opportunity to plug anything that you guys got coming up, or anything you want anybody to check out. Go for it.
Yeah, please. Just we're putting out new cover songs every Monday because we've somehow amassed enough people that want to do it. So we have like an overhaul of so many songs. So they're just going to keep coming out on Mondays for a while. And please, if you want them to keep happening, just subscribe to our Patreon. We're going to be adding more stuff to the Patreon. I'll just say it here. We're going to be doing a new podcast. Me and Drew, the co-creator of the show, we're going to be putting something there that's Patreon exclusive. That'll be appearing. I don't know exactly what the release date of that is, but that's the plan. We're going to try to the Patreon's going to be full of like outtakes and bloopers, and I put all of like the arrangement demos of each cover on the Patreon. So like you can hear exactly like kind of what I did. And then you can hear sort of what changed when other people got a hold of it, which is kind of cool. Please check out Slay at Home. It's a virtual metal festival that's put together by Frank Godla from Metal Injection. It's just going to be full of tons of really cool performances. I don't know when this is coming out, but
tonight,
on Friday. Now?
Oh yeah, like
right now.
We don't edit now. I don't know. Time for that.
Yeah, for sure. I hate editing. Don't do it. We do it so much because but don't fucking do it. Yeah, tomorrow, May 22nd is going to be the release date of like the schedule of the bands for Slay at Home. Check it out. There's going to be some weird shit. I think that's the key to doing virtual festivals right now is make it something that people wouldn't see.
Yeah.
Normally, don't just make it like don't make it all just like here's a concert, but there isn't an audience, and we're feeling the energy missing from that.
Yeah. Probably some weird covers. I would gather
there's going to be weird covers. I'm not just doing the Panamama set.
Okay.
There's something else that's happening. I can't say yet, but there's going to be collaborative, bizarre covers. They're more straight, but there's just, it's going to be musicians. There's going to be just like a pile of musicians, and you're like, those people are doing this? All right.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, thank you again for tuning, for joining us. For all of you guys for tuning in this week, you can hit us up at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com or at the all-new coverbandconfidential.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of that. Once again, Jordan, thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and call it for this week. From Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson. You've been listening to the Cover Band Confidential podcast, episode 104. Have a great week.
That's a lot of episodes. Good job, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, bud.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. If you want to help us, be sure to share us with your friends, follow us on social media, and if you haven't already, please leave a review for us on the podcast platform of your choice. Facebook.com/CoverbandConfidential, Instagram @CoverbandConfidential, and Twitter @CoverbandConfid. If you have any questions, please email us at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com and consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/CoverbandConfidential. And for more info, check out www.coverbandconfidential.com.